Welcome everybody to Bible Bites. I'm Pastor Dan. We are reading through the Bible a small bite at a time. At least we're reading through the book of Matthew, and we are in chapter 17. We're going to begin here in verse 14. Jesus, Peter, James, and John have all come back from this journey up a mountain where they're fairly secluded from the crowds. The other disciples were not with them. You can watch that video regarding what they were doing up on that mountain. So this is what they come back to here. When they came to the crowd, a man approached Jesus and knelt before him. "Lord, have mercy on my son," he said. "He has seizures and is suffering greatly. He often falls into the fire or into the water. And I brought him to your disciples, but they could not heal him." "You unbelieving and perverse generation," or wicked generation, Jesus replied. "How long shall I stay with you? How long shall I put up with you? Bring the boy here to me." Jesus rebuked the demon, and it came out of the boy, and he was healed at that moment. Now, I think I've mentioned before that using Scripture to help interpret Scripture really is a good idea and is a great tool for correctly interpreting and understanding the Scriptures. So when we look at Mark's account and Luke's account of this same passage, it really helps add some context. And what we find out is that Jesus, particularly in Mark's account of this, Mark 9, Jesus comes and he finds this crowd gathered around the disciples, particularly the scribes or the religious leaders, are arguing with the disciples about this, trying to heal this man's son, or trying to cast out this demon. And there's a lot of unbelief and lack of faith going on here. So there's probably lack of faith on the disciples' part, right? Jesus isn't with them, so they're unsure about this. They're trying to handle things on their own, away from Jesus. This is kind of a first, really. Now, in Matthew 10, Jesus did send them out into the towns, but he kind of commissioned them. He gave them authority to cast out demons, to heal, and they did. But now Jesus is away from them, right? They don't have maybe that same commissioning. This is a different time now, and they just are not sure about this. Now, the scribes and the crowds, who knows what they're thinking? They may be thinking, you can't cast out demons. This isn't even real. The scribes are doubting the authority and power of God, or people are doubting altogether the authority and power of God to cast out demons. Can demons really even be cast out? That's not even a thing, some of them might be saying, right? So Jesus comes to this. There's unbelief completely in the power of God, but unbelief in Jesus himself as the one who carries that authority and power of God, the one who is anointed, literally the Messiah. And so that helps us understand Jesus' statement where he says, "You unbelieving and wicked generation." Jesus is exasperated, I think. He's frustrated. He's like, why can you not trust in God? Why is it such a hard thing for you? And so Jesus heals the boy. Now in Mark's gospel, it tells us that in all this controversy, when Jesus comes back, the man who brought his son sees Jesus, and he goes up to Jesus. He's like, "Hey, listen, I brought my son to see if you could heal him. Maybe, will you have compassion and can you heal my son?" So he's bringing his son to see if Jesus can do this. There's not a faith here. It's kind of just, well, I brought him to see, maybe, And Jesus actually, and again, in Mark's gospel, responds to the man, "Can? Why are you saying if I can? Do you believe in the power of God or not?" So that adds a lot of context here, okay? So in 19, then the disciples came to Jesus in private and asked, "Why couldn't we drive it out?" So they are genuinely not understanding their own lack of faith. They aren't understanding what's going on. And Jesus replies, "Because you have so little faith. Truly I tell you, if you have the faith as small as a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, 'Move from here to there,' and it will move. Nothing will be impossible for you." Now in Mark's gospel, possibly in Luke's, I don't remember exactly, Jesus responds a little differently. He says, this type of demon or whatever only comes out through prayer. Now we know prayer is communication with God. So in both cases here, whether saying you have little faith and that's why you can't do it, or whether he says this comes out by prayer. So what he's saying is there's no authority that exists to cast out demons apart from the power of God, right? So we need to look to God for this power, for the authority to cast out demons. And God has that authority. So he is pointing his disciples to trust in God, to go to God with the faith, with the belief, the trust that God does have this authority. And of course, Jesus as the Son of God, the one who is anointed with the power and authority of God, did cast out this demon. So, and they can trust in Jesus too. All right. Hopefully, then this really helps us understand this passage. Again, looking at these other accounts, specifically in Mark, I think really helps. In our next video, I'll see you then, and we'll look at, we'll begin in verse 22. Be blessed.